The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada now brings you FilipiNARS, news and features about the Filipino-American nursing community and beyond. And now, here's your host, Doris Bauer.
Well, hello and good evening to you, FilipiNARS listeners and followers. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much again for joining us at FilipiNARS. And as you know, FilipiNARS is brought to you by the PNANV, or the Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada, in collaboration with PHLV Radio. So thank you again for joining us. I'm your host, Doris Bauer. So lately, the nursing community has been buzzing with the news of the campaign for the Nurse Licensure Compact of Nevada, for Nevada. However, it appears that not all in the nursing community know of this and what are some of the specific information surrounding the NLC, or the Nurses Licensure Compact. So today, we will give updates on what's going on with the NLC and the frequently asked questions regarding the Nurse Licensure Compact. And today, we have three guests with us. One is Ms. Kathy Dinauer, who is the Executive Director of the Nevada State Board of Nursing. Welcome, Ms. Kathy. And
thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Victoria Squire, who is the current Secretary of the PNANV, who is an educator in Reno, and also a district leader for the NNA up there. Dr. Squire, which district is it?
District 1.
District 1 in Reno, correct?
Correct.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And of course, Miss Elizabeth De Leon Gamboa, who is the immediate past president of the PNANV, and we're both now advisors of the organization. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Do you have anything to add to your introductions?
Just looking forward to our Nurses Day at the Legislature this coming week.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, so, and PNANV, we're very much in awe that this has gotten so much momentum, and we're hoping that that day at the legislature would be the day of the hearing.
Yes, I am excited, and we'll see you all there, I guess. Okay, so let's start with some questions for Kathy Dinauer. Kathy, can you tell us again what a Nurse Licensure Compact is?
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. The Philippine Nurses Association has been wildly supportive of the Nurse Compact and has really provided a lot of opportunities for me to speak on behalf of the Nurse Compact. So the Nurse Compact, otherwise known as the Nurse Licensure Compact, the NLC, allows nurses the portability to cross state borders with one license. So it allows you to have one license and ability to practice in all the states that are part of the Nursing Compact. And currently we have 37 states that are part of the Nurse Compact and 2 territories, the territory of Guam and the Virgin Islands.
Oh, great.
So that is the main part of what the compact does. It's a licensure tool.
Okay, and are there more benefits to the NLC?
Yes. So first and foremost, the NLC allows a nurse that ability to practice in multiple states with one license, therefore reducing the cost and obligations to comply with the licensure requirements of every single state that nurse gets a license. So there's a financial gain for the nurse. Then again, as I said, they would not be obligated to follow the licensure requirements of every single state. They would only have to follow the licensure requirements of the state that they have their license in. It is very advantageous to those nurses who do telehealth. Again, they only need to have one license in multiple states. It is very advantageous to those nurses who have military spouses because, again, they move around a lot and this allows them the ability to practice in multiple states with one license. And those are just a few of the advantages and benefits.
Okay, great, wonderful. So, Kathy, why does the Nevada State Board of Nursing support NLC?
So the Board of Nursing has supported the NLC for many, many years and has tried to enact it for probably about 10 years now and has been unsuccessful. But the Board of Nursing, their mission is to protect the public through effective regulation. And the compact isn't going to compromise that protection of the public. And it is something that the Board of Nursing truly believes, again, promotes the nurse's ability to, allows for portability and allows the nurse to move across state lines very quickly. And also, the Board of Nursing, in conjunction with the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, conducted a survey a year ago of Nevada nurses. And 10,000 nurses responded to the survey. And of those nurses, 92% of them were in favor of joining the nursing compact. So it's also a benefit, it's for the nurses as well. And they are the nurses whom we license and take their licensure fees. So this is kind of a give back as well to the nurses in Nevada.
That's a pretty significant percentage there, 92% in favor. That's great. I'm glad to hear of that. So a few years ago, Kathy, there was a push for the NLC in the legislature, which was met with a lot of opposition. But now, with the pandemic, I think I asked you this before, the opposition is now dropping a little bit. And so more nursing associations are actually calling for it. So can you give us a background in the change of the opposition and what is the reason for this call for change?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for the chance to be able to speak to that. So I think what's happened is, first of all, more and more states are becoming part of the compact. So it's not just some arbitrary, one state is part of this thing called the compact. We have 37 states. We already have multiple compacts in the state of Nevada. So a compact is not a new concept, and it's taken a while to get that message across. Also, in the state of Nevada, we have suffered through a horrible act of terrorism, October 1st shooting in Las Vegas.
Yes.
There was a great need, those of you who worked in Las Vegas, there was a great need for nurses immediately. And even though the Board of Nursing can issue a temporary license in just a few days, if you're on the floor, that could be a long time waiting for help. With the compact, that nurse could come immediately. So we've seen this act of terrorism. COVID taught us a lot about the need to have immediate, this portability of nurses being able to cross state lines. I mean, I don't need to tell you how horrible it was working through COVID. And then in this winter, we had this massive influx of pediatric patients with RSV. And again, what can we do to get nurses here quicker? So I think there has been just this change in climate, this change of, wait, more states are doing this. What is so wrong about it? Now, there's still going to be opposition, and there will be opposition when we testify. That's going to happen.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad. Well, it's not that, with all these difficulties that we have, undergone, the COVID, the, RSV, and so many things. I think this has put it in the forefront again. So I
agree.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So now we've been waiting for this, and it finally came into fruition. So now we have a bill to present to the legislature, which is AB 108. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what was the process that we had to go through to get that into law? What is the process, I should say?
Sure. Again, wonderful, great question. So the first was to see if the compact requires a change in our statute. And whenever you make a change in the law or statute, it requires a legislative approval and change. So the first step is to have it go through the legislature. So the last session, we did have a bill, but it never even got introduced into committee. So over the last 2 years, we've met, we being myself and our lobbyists, have worked really hard meeting with the committee chair at the time of the committee, Commerce and Labor, the Assembly Commerce and Labor, and Assemblywoman Howdigi, who has been terrific. And I think that, her seeing that more and more organizations are in support of a compact, and just as what I said with all these sorts of, pandemic and disasters and more states are joining, why not do it? So she has worked to introduce the bill into the Assembly, Commerce and Labor. Now, she is not the chair, she is the vice chair, but she is at least asking for it to be introduced. So then what happens is it was a bill draft, and then it went through some iterations, and then it now is AB 108. And the bill of itself is the standard bill that every state uses when they enact the compact, because every state must follow certain requirements so that it's not this multitude of changes wherever you go. It's the same whatever compact state you go to.
Whatever.
So AB 108, right, AB 108 is reflective of that. So we are currently waiting for our day to testify before the Assembly, Commerce and Labor. So that's where we stand.
That's where we stand. That's great. Well, looking forward to that, really. So what is being done to help with this campaign?
Well, organizations like the FilipiNARS Association has been wonderful, giving me an opportunity to speak to nurses, whether it be in person or on a podcast, because I'll go anywhere, anytime, wherever somebody needs me to talk about this.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten a lot of support. I have many, many, many letters of support from various organizations, not just the hospitals and the Hospital Association, who obviously support this, but organizations. We have the Department of Defense. We have organizations like the Nevada Nurses Association, the Nevada Nurse Practitioner Organization, and I have received, like I said, many, many letters of support. And also what's different this time is I've also gotten letters of support from staff nurses in emergency rooms who said, what can I do? What can I do to help support this? And so what I've said is, write a letter of support, we'll submit it with our testimony, but also be willing to testify. The committee needs to hear stories. They need to hear from all of you, nurses who have a story to tell why they want the compact. They'll hear from me, but they need to hear from the nurses who are at the bedside, who are maybe not at the bedside, but how it's going to impact you. You're a faculty in a school. How is it going to impact you to be able to have a multi-state license? So that's what we're also looking for.
That's great. That's great. I'm so glad. So, well, thank you for that information, Ms. Kathy. And if I may turn to Lisa here, Ms. Elizabeth De Leon Gamboa. Lisa, as a past president of the PNANV, immediate past president, where does the PNANV stand with this NLC campaign for Nevada?
Well, as I have mentioned before in many previous occasions, PNANV has found its voice, and we're in the forefront of changing the healthcare landscape of Nevada. And this is one opportunity to make that change, to have Nevada as part of NLC. So we are behind it, and we're supporting it 100%. So as part of our responsibility is to, educate our nurses and the public. What is this NLC all about? Right. So that's why we have this podcast, and what Kathy has mentioned earlier, we will make it happen. We will invite nurses. We will engage the community leaders. We will engage everyone that's involved in healthcare to listen to us. because it's not only protecting our public when we have nurses enough to supply the care that we need. It's not only protecting the public, but also protecting our own nurses. You know, when we see our nurses so tired working 7 days a week because there's nobody else to take the shift, you know, we are rooting for them. And that's why we're behind this NLC 100%.
That's great. That's great to know. And yes, this podcast is, or a program is a platform for us to disseminate this information. And I'm glad we're still going strong at it. And so thank you for that, Lisa. From an acute care standpoint, I'd say they have their issues. I belong to the alternative care arena, and we have our issues too, where we are in need of nurses as well. So I welcome this. Okay, well, thank you. And so before we go to Dr. Squire, we have some videos of nurses with their opinions on the NLC. So let's take a listen to what they have to say.
Hi, my name is Becky Kirby. I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for just over 30 years, and my specialty is home infusion nursing. So I administer anything from antibiotics to biologics to neurologics, iron, you name it, mostly life preserving or life-saving medications. And where I just recently moved from is in a tri-state area. So I lived in Arizona, literally 3 miles from Nevada, but I couldn't practice in Nevada. I lived 30 minutes from California, and I couldn't practice in California with my compact license. So if Nevada joins the nurse licensure compact, it would greatly serve this tri-state area. It is a very underserved population of people. And, in the winter time here, it's snowbird season, so the population almost doubles. And I think the ability for a registered nurse in Arizona to serve California and Nevada would greatly improve patient care and outcomes. And I highly encourage Nevada to join the nurse licensure compact. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That was truly, truly inspiring. So let's talk to Dr. Victoria Squire. Dr. Squire, there are several frequently asked questions about the NLC, and I'm sure you can give some answers to this. And feel free, Lisa or Kathy, to chime in if you have any opinions to this. So Dr. Squire, can you give us some answers? Right, you are going to, right? And I am sure our nursing colleagues would like to know. Okay, so
a frequently asked question could be, I live in a non-compact state, and how do I get a compact multi-state license? Only nurses who declare a compact state as their primary state of residence may be eligible for a multi-state license. So as a resident of a non-compact state, you may apply for a license by endorsement in a compact state. Your eligibility will be limited to a single state license that is valid only in that state. So as a resident of somebody in a non-compact state, you can have many single state licenses as you wish and move from state to state to be eligible to use it. Say, for example, our military families, which is always typical that you would have to be stationed somewhere else. And if your spouse or yourself as a vet or active duty have a nursing license, you'd be able to bring your entire family and not have to go through the litany of time and waiting for a new license in that state if it's part of the compact licensure.
Okay.
Can I chime in to that FAQ? So I have 3 licenses right now in 3 different states. So 2 are not part of the compact and 1 is. But, applying for this compact state, because Nevada is not part of the compact, I had to go through a whole ordeal of getting a license through endorsement. So
Really?
And those applications
that would have been
fees
avoided
add
if
up.
Nevada was part.
Well, I have a license in Arizona as well, and that is a compact state. So, I just renewed it. I haven't heard yet, but so I don't know. We'll see. Actually, and so because I live here, it is kind of difficult, but that has been a challenge. So thank you for that insight, Lisa. So, Dr. Squire, does this NLC apply to APRNs as well?
Well, the LLC pertains to RNs and LPNs only. So an APRN must hold an individual state license in each state that they practice as an APRN.
Okay. So we both, I think Lisa and I both state this because we are residing in a state where, there's no compact licensure. So what does the primary state of residence mean?
Well, for primary state of residence, it's not related to property ownership in a given state. It's about your legal residency status. So everyone has a legal document such as driver's license, voter card, federal income tax return, military forms, and W-2s from that primary state. So if a nurse is, they call it a PSOR, so primary state of residence, in a compact state, then that state of their PSOR, that nurse is not eligible for a compact license if they're not with the compact. So they can apply for a single state license in any state where they wish to practice. Those fees will add up. So
yes.
This is where we're talking about if you're having to move around due to military status, or say you're a travel nurse and that is your form of practice and you're going from state to state, the portability is actually complicated by not being in a compact state. For example, my husband is both military and a travel nurse, and he's had wanting to keep the continuity of his employment, had been recruited to a state that wasn't in the compact, so Washington state, and waiting for that license in that state and having that gap in being able to work because that's where the need was. It was problematic for both the state and for the nurse because he waiting for employment and the state in need without that compact licensure. We're waiting, we're not getting employed easily, and the state is in need of it. So for us, we're in that situation currently, and we would like that ability to have those nurses coming from other states come help us with our need as well in a very efficient manner, especially when they're readily available.
Absolutely. So,
Dr. Squire, this is Kathy. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. I just want to say, I hope that you would share that in a testimony, because that is exactly what the committee needs to hear, those personalized stories.
Absolutely.
And you, Lisa, if you ladies would like to join me on my speaking tour, I would love to have you join me because you're answering, absolutely correctly. I just want to add one thing about fees. A nurse continues to have a choice in Nevada. If we become part of the compact, as you already mentioned, they can still maintain a single state license. Like, I don't plan to really go anywhere or move anywhere, so I'll just continue, pay the same fee, keep a single state license. But if I choose to have a multi-state license, right now, we're not going to charge anything different. Many states will charge a separate fee for that. We anticipate a revenue loss for us, but we can take care of that. I want to see what happens. I'd like us to get be in the compact, see what kind of revenue loss we can cover that with our budget, and then in the next session we may or may not have to raise fees for a multi-state license. We haven't raised fees in 20 years, but for right now there's not going to be any additional cost to the nurses.
That's good to know. Thank you.
But yes, it is, and that's, I think, one of the things that the nurses are worried about is, you know, the cost of renewing the license when we become a compact license state, or if we become a compact license state. So,
Thank you,
okay.
Kathy. And yes, I would be honored to go with you and really spread the word and advocate for the nurse licensure compact, this NLC, to be enacted, because, you know, I would hate for another nurse to go through what I've been through, obtaining my high school diploma, getting my transcripts from college after 27 years of practicing here in the United States, and also going to our professional licensing board in the Philippines to get a certified true copy of my license. So that's after 27 years going through all that.
I don't think I can even do that now if they ask me.
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions as well about how it's regulated, right? We're talking about the NCSBN, and this is who licensed us, right? And if they're who are providing that continuity of standards, and your state is part of that compact licensure, which is regulated by that board, we're also looking at the standards. And I'm concerned that people aren't understanding that if they believe those standards will be diminished because of the movement, I don't believe that's so, because it's those boards that are regulating our standard as a licensed practicing nurse to begin with.
Yes.
Yes. And from a personal thing, I mean, if you would go there, wherein you would be a traveling nurse going from one state to another, you have to be, you know, on point with your game, right? I wouldn't want to go to another state and be conceived as a dummy, or trying to, you know, diminishing the care that I provide, you know, for the nurse. I mean, that's just an opinion, but.
Well, you know, to speak to that, having been in leadership and hiring travel nurses in the past, it is a concern when you're not able to just go into their background easily and have that information readily available. If they're moving state to state and are in discipline in another state, you're not able to get that information right away. And with this system of the compact licensure, you're able to do that. It's transparent. You can find out what's happening in those other states with that nurse. If, say, there's a discipline in progress, that doesn't catch up to them right away in states that don't have that disclosure.
That's good.
So,
okay. Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
I was just going
Kathy.
to say that there is so the National Council of State Boards of Nursing is a organization that their main function is to write our NCLEX exam. So that's what they do. But they also provide staff for the NLC. And the NLC there's a commission, and it is made up of the executive directors of every single compact state. So National Council does not have any kind of voting rights because it isn't their thing. They just provide the staff. The voting on the rules of the NLC are made by this group, representative of all the compact states. So there's equal participation, open meeting laws, majority vote, that sort of thing. So if there's a change to the compact, it's done through this organization, which is, I think it's just a really good thing. And then with discipline, yes, you know, right now, there isn't anything different with the compact that would happen differently than what we're doing now when we discipline or when we investigate a nurse. There really isn't anything different, except that we would have to contact the home state and say, hey, we got a nurse here that did something and they got a license in your state, but they're working in ours. There's something going on, blah, blah, blah. And we can remove their privilege to practice in our state. And then the home state would have the ability to discipline the license. So there's really not anything different than what we're doing now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Thanks for that, everyone. Actually, sorry. Anyway, okay. So another frequently asked question is, what is the difference between a compact license and a multi-state license?
All right. So
Well, there's, oh,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Did you have something?
Uh,
Go ahead,
Okay.
Kathy.
go ahead, Kathy, if you want
Oh,
to chime in.
okay. So, well, the compact license is a multi-state license. They get interchanged because what it is you have one license and your ability to practice in multiple states. So we refer to it as a multi-state license or a compact license. It's interchangeable. I don't use necessarily reciprocity. I think that's a little bit of a different nomenclature. But right now, with a multi-state license or compact license, it's one license, but you practice in multiple states. So it's a multi-state license.
Okay, so why would a nurse need a multi-state license?
If they want to work in multiple states or they just want to have it. What it would allow you to do is you declare your residency, as you have already articulated. Whatever state is my residence, I would have a license in that state, but then I can go work in all the other 37 states that are part of the compact with that one license. I don't have to get a license in every single state and abide by every state's licensure requirements. So that's why you would want it. If you're a nurse that wants to practice, you want to go to Utah, you want to go to Arizona, you're in Arizona, you want to come to Nevada, vice versa, we have border states, then wouldn't that be nice to be able to just get in the car, drive a couple hours, get to that state, and I'm ready to go to work.
If I may add
Legitimately
to,
yeah.
sorry.
Pardon me?
No, I was going to add to that, Kathy. From my personal experience, I work for a huge managed care organization, and I used to do prior authorizations. So as we have acquired properties in other states, there was that need to obtain licenses from various states, from various properties, to be able to take care of their members in those states. So if I had a multi-state license or if Nevada was part of a compact state, then I did not have to get one single license from each state. So it's the same thing. There are so many people, so many nurses in our organization who are having to go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that there is a sort of a personal thing for me because I'm in home care, home infusion. We're looking at the border towns or the border cities wherein the patient lives, for instance, in Nevada, say Laughlin or something, and there is nobody that can take care of that patient in the state of Nevada, but there is a nurse who is around that area that has a compact license for Arizona, but is not allowed to take care of that patient because the patient lives in Nevada. So those are the challenges that I see, with the border towns, like the border areas of Nevada and Utah as well. Very, very difficult to get caregivers because some of the home health agencies are restricted with their geographical areas that they can cover. So that one right there. So anyway, anything to add to that, Dr. Squire?
Well, being that my licensure is both in California and Nevada, and there isn't that type of option. And it is a challenge when, I'm managing 2 licenses when it comes time for renewal. I'm keeping track of my CEs for both states and not having, if I were to be in a border state, say Oregon or in Utah, and I do have nurses who I'm also my faculty who do come from those areas and would like maybe that option. I know not having that option, it is problematic. So it would be something that would address those kinds of issues for people in those areas.
Great. Okay, let's move on to another frequently asked question here. Okay, so my primary state of residence is a non-compact state. It is also where I am licensed. I am applying for a license in a compact state. However, do I have to give up my original license?
No, you may maintain your current license, and residents of non-compact states are not bound by the compact rules, which permit a license to hold only one compact multi-state license in the primary state of residence. So if you were to move to a compact state,
Uh-huh.
and permanently relocating to another compact state, you apply for licensure by endorsement and complete the declaration of primary state of residence, just like we talked about before. And within the application, which is found on the nursing board's website, you can start the application process prior to or after the move. And then without delaying applying, once you've moved, then there's no grace period if you are moving from that non-compact state and then applying to the compact state. In advance of the move, you can do it, or you may be issued a single state license, or your application will be held until you move. So have proof of the legal residency at the time, and then you could be issued the multi-state license.
Okay. All right. Well, if I have a compact license, how long can I work in another compact state?
Kathy, does that-
You have to, well, you have to abide, the number one rule is you have to abide by the licensure requirements of your home state. So in Nevada, for example, we require renewal every 2 years. So you would need to make sure that, because your license, you get your license in the state that you reside. So for us, it's every 2 years, and then you have to demonstrate that you've done your CEUs, your one-time bioterrorism, and your cultural competence, and you would be able to renew your license. So it depends on where the home state is. Most of the states require the same thing, but the variable sometimes is with the amount of CEUs that are required.
Okay, so what if you move to another compact state? If you're permanently relocating there? Yeah.
If you're permanently, and I think Dr. Squire mentioned that, if you're changing your state of residence, then you need to declare that, and then you become, you would be issued a multi-state license from that state. Now, if you're in a compact state and you move to a non-compact state, then you would lose that ability to have that multi-state license because it's based on where your primary home state is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was going to be one of the next frequently asked questions is if I live in a compact state where I'm licensed, how do I get a license in a non-compact state?
Right.
So
you'd have to get that license.
You get a license, you'd have to, exactly. You'd have to get a single state license.
Okay. Yeah, that's that. All right. Let's see. What else do I have here? Anything? Okay. What about moving? I think we covered the moving to another state, non-compact to compact, compact to non-compact, and compact to compact, right? How about to another country?
Ooh, you got me there. Wouldn't it be the same thing as going to a non-compact, right? Like if they're not part of that, just like California isn't, if we were to become compact here in Nevada, and I would still have to maintain my California license, that's not, and it'd have the same requirements. And all nurses should be aware of what their Nurse Practice Act is, regardless of what state they're in, because again, just slight variances, but still want to know what those things are, because you're practicing under that state's License and Practice Act.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. And I think we covered the military spouses already, right?
Yes.
And the veterans. What about the Indian Health Services? I guess it also depends on where they are, right? Are they part of the federal?
Well, I don't know. The
Federal,
only place, like with the VA, there's a little bit of a nuance with if you're a VA nurse because you can practice at the VA with an out-of-state license. It's like in Nevada. But I don't know about the Native American clinics and that sort of thing. I
Well,
think you
based
still
on
have to
the
get a
federal
Nevada license.
supremacy, because it's under the feds, right? So
They're
nurses,
under the feds, right?
yes, and in this category, they're exempt from licensure in the state of practice when they hold the active nurse license in any state. So this exemption doesn't apply when a nurse is practicing in a civilian facility or a non-federal role. So in this case, the nurse will need to hold appropriate licensure for the state of practice in that non-federal role. So if
Non-federal
you're
role.
practicing
Okay.
on a reservation under those federal roles, and that would be exempt.
Okay. Do you have any other frequently asked questions that come to mind? I think
I do. This is Kathy.
Okay.
I will get a question about, does the compact lower the standard of nursing care? And I really don't quite understand that, but I think I do. So one of the requirements is for licensure is that you have to abide, when you renew your license, you have to abide by whatever the licensure requirements are for your home state. And every state may be just a tad different in what they require in continuing education. In Nevada, we require 30 hours, but there are states that don't have a CEU requirement.
Right.
And I think that kind of freaks people out. Like, oh my gosh, you could have a nurse coming here from Missouri working in Nevada who does not have a CEU requirement. And that's very true. But most employers, and I'll speak from, and whether you're in a hospital, a home health, or a clinic, or wherever you're working, have some sort of continuing education requirement for their employees. Because the continuing education requirement, as we all know, I have to do nursing CEUs, but I could do those CEUs. I could go on a cruise to the Bahamas, which would be really nice about right now, but I could go on a cruise and I could get my hours of continuing education in care of the newborn. And it's great, it's all legitimate, but it has nothing to do with nursing regulation, but it still meets the intent of the law. So really that thought process that it would lower the standard, it doesn't, because every compact state requires that a nurse have graduated from an accredited nursing program and have passed the NCLEX exam, and there's a multitude of other requirements. But I think that sometimes that CEU requirement trips people up.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Because that CEU requirement doesn't even require you to have it in your specialty unless, of course, you're in a certified role. Like if you had, say, for example, I have my nurse executive certification, then of course, to renew that certification particularly, I would have to have CEUs in those areas. But if you're a generalist, you can pick any CEU you'd like.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
So when you have national certifications, they do have their own focus areas or domains of practice. So like case management, you have different stuff from quality perspective and all that.
Correct.
Right. Well, this was very, very enlightening, ladies. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you, Dr. Squire, Kathy Denauer, and also Ms. Lisa here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Any last
Thank
thoughts?
you.
Yeah. Any last words to the
Thank
public?
you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Squire, any last words?
Well, thanks for getting the word out for us, Doris. We've got a good set of audience here.
We're going to keep on trucking.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of the Philippine Nurses Association, I urge all the nurses to please listen. Find out the facts. Is this something that affects me or impacts my career? How does it impact also when I care for my patients? This is our time. The time is really now. Kathy was talking about the 10-year battle, to get the NOC enacted here in Nevada. So please join us. And hopefully, and we keep our fingers crossed that they will hear this bill on the 23rd.
Okay, that's tomorrow. actually. So we will see you all
Yes.
tomorrow in Carson City. And thank you so much for joining us today. And to our listeners and followers in the nursing community, today's program has given us information on what a nurse licensure compact is all about. Under an NLC, a nurse can practice in any other NLC states without having to obtain additional licenses. Today, we have heard opinions of those who are for, or for those who agree or approve in passing the NLC here in Nevada. Here at FilipiNARS, we welcome those who have something to say regarding this issue. So we are inviting those who have opposing views to come be our guest at our program. And we will also share your thoughts, opinions, and information. And if you would like to come to be a guest here, please just email us at phldradio@gmail.com or to pnanv.org@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Thank you very much again for joining us today. Thank you for the privilege of your time. This is Doris Bauer, your FilipiNARS host, signing off for now.
The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you FilipiNARS, news and features about the Filipino-American nursing community